Hey, you ready?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, I am.
Hello, everybody. I'm Seth. This is Fey.
Hello.
And so I got a story for you, and this is going to lead us into our topic. And I've got to tell you, there's some risk I'm taking with this. It makes me a little bit nervous, but I've got to tell you about my birth, and there's a reason for this. So hang with me here through this first part of the story. So I was born with all my internal organs up in my chest, grown together, and they did a surgery when I was 2 days old. I'm going to show you the scar tissue. I've had this for 57 years now. They actually did 3 surgeries in the first year of my birth where they've scarred me all up, and I've had those forever. And they've been sort of an embarrassment to me. I don't run around without my shirt on and all. A lot of people question it, and it's kind of a long story. But basically what happened was my stomach and my kidneys and I guess my liver and all were up in my chest, and my heart was shifted over under my right arm, and I had organs growing to my lungs, and when they well, it was in 1963, and they performed emergency surgery where they didn't even anesthetize. I was going to say euthanize me. They didn't do that either.
They tried, but it wouldn't take.
They didn't anesthetize me. They just cut me open because I was on the brink of death. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you all this is very traumatic, and it's a miracle that I survived. It broke open again. They rearranged it. It broke open again. They finally got a piece of Marlex gauze on my diaphragm where the hole was, and that has fixed the problem for me. I could go on and on about the story because there's so many different aspects and miracles involved in it. But what occurred to me the other day was I've been meditating with this.
If you're interested in hearing Seth's story, by the way, we have something on this channel already. It's Autumn in the Ozarks, and Seth goes into some great detail, fascinating story, well told. I strongly suggest checking it out. Sorry for the interruption and promo. Actually, not sorry for the promo.
Well, thank you. But it's true. I tell my story, the good, the bad, the ugly. For my birthday, which was February 4th, went out and I bought myself a birthday present. It's an amethyst geode. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. Anyway, it's about as big as my hand. And it fits perfectly on my heart and solar plexus. I know you can't really see that well, but it fits perfectly there. It just fits right in. So I lay back and I rest with this, and it gives me interesting impressions and information, and it's very relaxing to me. But I was sitting there with this, and the thought occurred to me, so I have all the scar tissue in my heart and my solar plexus, and that has got to have affected my chakras somehow. Now, I've never seen anything about this, so this is all sort of just a theory of mine that's coming about that I wanted to sort of have a discussion with. But, trauma affects everything. We are energetic beings, and you can feel our energy This is proven. This part is proven. We're energy, and you can feel the energy around us. And these chakras are energy points of the body.
Well, even just as an example of, people being able to feel that energy, when you're sitting in a room and you can feel that someone's staring at you and you turn around and look, and sure enough, they are. Right there is one of the easiest examples of showing how people can perceive energy from each other.
Absolutely. And along the same lines, we also can go into a room of total strangers and know sort of immediately who we're attracted to and who we're not. And I'm not talking on a relationship level. I'm just talking about energetically. But anyway, so got my mind going. It's like, so I have never really had relationships. I like romantic, long-term relationships. I've had a lot of encounters. I've had a lot of friendships, but I've never in my life had any type of permanent partnership, nor have I really, really desired one. It's never been like a driving force for me. And it's always felt kind of weird watching other people go through that and feeling the need to have these relationships. And there used to be a part of me that sort of wished that I could have that too. Are you going to say something? Oh, you froze up.
I was actually going to ask when you said that about there was part of you that wanted that. Do you mean wanted to have relationships or wanted to have relationships?
No, I wanted to want to.
Okay.
I thought I was really abnormal because everybody else was out having them, and I just wasn't willing to. I never needed someone in my life just to have someone in my life. It was just never. I wasn't going to put up with the stress of a relationship when I was perfectly content by myself. I didn't have that innate desire to have a relationship, which most humans are born with. So as I've gotten older, I've gotten to the point where I really don't care one way or the other. I just don't have it, and it's fine. If it ever happens, that's great, but it's going to be a huge surprise. But anyway, so I was thinking, my first thought was, okay, so is that because my whole area of the relationship stuff has been so traumatized and scarred, where the heart chakra, which is our emotion, our love, and then the solar plexus, which is our memory, our psychic center, and then also my navel chakra has had some trauma too, which is the need for nurturing, the need for that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where we get fed in the womb. It's our nurturing center.
Okay. Okay. Now that's interesting.
And I also don't have the same reaction emotionally to things that other people do. My emotions in a lot of ways are real shut down in some areas. So I wondered about maybe that had something to do with why I don't react the same way relationship-wise and to love and to romance like other people do. I can be romantic, but it's an act. I mean, it's like I do it because it pleases the other person. It doesn't really affect me a lot. I love people giving me gifts and stuff, but it's not a do or die situation.
Right.
Some people need to be stroked and told they're beautiful and being given gifts and stuff. I don't have any of that. That's not, in fact, it sort of makes me uncomfortable at a point. So then my next thought was, okay, so, then I was watching a show on Netflix, and it actually brought this up energetically. The woman had a cesarean section, and it was affecting her energy work. And so they were working real hard on dispersing the energy of that little scar. Now, my scars aren't little scars. It's completely like almost like a shield.
I was just going to say full body armor.
Pretty much, absolutely. From the navel up to, well, about here probably. There's a lot of trauma. So I figured if she was having that much problem with one little scar, imagine trying to navigate through this mess of. But anyway, one of the things I did bring up was that scar tissue energetically is like cyber optic cables. It moves energy really, really fast. I mean, the way they were showing it, they had x-rays and they showed the way it was laid out. Well, that's fine, but when it's scar tissue, there is no real direction it's going. It's not like it's just going up and down. It's going all kinds of weird ways. So, which meant it was could be really useful, but how do you corral that energy?
Yeah, that brings up one right off the top, one question from me, which is like the tribes, like I think it's I want to say the Maori. I can't say it. I'd like to say that. I'd like to very much.
That's the Maori.
Yeah, but I don't think they're the ones that scar themselves. But there are a bunch of different tribes that use scarring as a ritual entrance into manhood or womanhood or whatever. It kind of makes me wonder if there's some reason why they do the way they do, and if it deals with some sort of an energetic.
That's an interesting observation, because it kind of goes along with where my mind went. So then my next question was, do different types of scarring affect us different energetically? I mean, I kind of decided for myself, yes, it affected me energetically. I don't have any proof about this, but I've decided it for myself, so it must be fact.
Well, it makes sense. And here's the thing. Okay, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to see this.
Not really. There we go.
Where? Show me where.
Yeah, you can you got to turn it. There you go, sort of.
Maybe, let me try this. Maybe if I got a little bit better light on this. I don't know.
No, that made it worse. Yeah, turn that light off and do that again.
I can't.
You can do this.
Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of see them.
Okay.
Yeah, they stand out. You can see them. Are you talking?
My arms are pretty well scarred up from, they weren't really suicide attempts. They were more like screams of anguish. I felt very, very frozen up, like I couldn't feel anything. And by slicing my arms open, it was like, okay, I finally feel something. This is when I was in my teen years. But the thing I think is interesting as far as what you're saying from that is it's like, I know that this arm is your incoming energy. This one is your outcoming energy. And I have a lot of problems accepting things coming in. And this is the worst scarring. Okay. But I also have problems letting go of things. And so I don't know that would fit into what you're talking about.
I think it would.
It kind of really seems like it would. Because it's like this, it's like, two of the scars directly, completely cross over this arm. And then there's two that go this way. But the first two seems like, based on what you're saying, it would be more blocks than an open channel to move stuff.
Now, and then that sort of brought me to the next question in my mind was, does the energy with which we receive our wounds, which scar over, have a different impact on us energetically? I know it does psychologically. For instance, in my case, it was not a suicide attempt. It was a heroic measure to save my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was extremely painful and gut-wrenching. Ha 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 ha. Gut-wrenching. Ha ha ha. Sorry.
Oh, by the way, hi, Dale.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Dale. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Anyway, so mine was very traumatic, but it was a life-saving thing. Yours was very traumatic, but it was self-inflicted out of pain.
Yeah,
And
pain and rage.
then is there a difference energetically between someone who cuts themselves and someone who is cut out of anger by someone else, like stabbed? Does that create a different physical energy? Again, I know it does psychologically and spiritually.
Based on that, I would almost say it would have to,
Mm.
because it's like that energy that they're putting towards damaging. Like when I was doing this, the energy that I was putting in, it was so much angst, so much rage, so much everything involved in it. The only thing that there really wasn't, well, I can't even say there really wasn't. It's like I wasn't directly suicidal. It was like, yeah, if I die out of this, it's okay. That's a bonus. But it was, but even still, I'm just thinking that it's like if the wounding, I mean, any kind of energy that someone puts towards you, you have some sort of a reaction to it. So if it's an energy like somebody stabbing somebody, if there's that much rage that's being put into it, then it would make sense to me that energetically that energy gets pulled into you or pushed into you. And it seems like on an energetic level, to me, that would cause skips and gaps in your energy, because it would you would have fear that would twist things when you're working with energy, if that makes any kind of sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thought I had was, so what do I need to do? No, that's not the next thought. The next thought was, okay, so given this situation that I have, this condition I have of all the scarring and stuff, why am I so functional? Shouldn't my energy be so messed up that I wouldn't be functional? But somehow or another, my physical body has adjusted enough. I mean, they can do crystal energy work on me. I've had Reiki, we talk, whoo, whoo, whoo. I've had, massage work on me.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe your energy was just so intense that she
was screaming, whoa, it was scaring her. But it works on me, and I'm able to get my chakras open according to the crystals. According to the pendulums that they use to check it. So I'm not sure exactly where all this goes, but I would be curious also if there is a physical difference in scar tissue from, let's say, people that burn themselves as opposed to people that cut themselves, or someone who gets shot. Is there a physical difference in the actual scar tissue, or is all scar tissue the same? That would be something that an expert would have to answer. I don't have that answer.
I don't know for sure. All right. But I've seen people who burned themselves, and had lots and lots of burns on their arms.
And the scars look totally different.
They look totally different. The scars I have almost have little like hair-like lines that run across them from when it healed, My stepfather, when he was very young, managed to get himself shot in the leg for trying to steal another guy's gal. And I've seen that, and that scar tissue appears different.
Mm-hmm.
The scar tissue that you carry looks different than cigarette burn or these. And I was thinking, going back to what you initially said with the does it make a difference, the intent, when the scar happens, and it's like in your case, because it was like heroic measures to try to save your life. If that energy is what they're putting into you, it's like, okay, we got to save him, maybe that's why your energetic field has been able to kind of work around that. Where if your mom had been a complete psycho and just like, that might have been a very different type of thing, I would think.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and so I'm thinking that because of the fact that this was done from, you know, concern, caring, whatever, that it carried an entirely different energy, and that's why you've been able to kind of work through this, you know, because I know that you've had rage in your past, you've had issues, but I don't think you carried the same kind of rage that I did.
No, not at
And
all.
yeah, and so I don't, you know, I wonder again, it's like if, you know, perhaps that's because you got this intense energy at the very beginning of your life that said your life is worth saving, you know, or something, that maybe somehow in that attempt, that message somehow got transferred into your energetic field or something.
I also know that people that have a tendency to cut themselves or burn themselves, not with a suicide attempt, but that whatever, usually it comes from childhood trauma, some kind of abuse. It could be sexual abuse, it could be physical abuse, it could be neglect, it could be whatever, where you don't want the memories to come up.
Right.
So you do something physical to short circuit having to relive those horrible memories.
I know in my case there was a lot of sexual abuse as well as some emotional abuse about weight, you know, and eating and stuff like that. So a lot of the trauma I had was around survival, actually, you know, because it was not, you know, bless my mama's heart, she wanted to do right by me, but instead, you know, it was like I ended up feeling very much unlovable and unworthy, you know, because I had to eat food, and eating food is a horrible, horrible, awful thing, you know. So a lot of the trauma I had was like life ending. End your life, end your life. You can't eat, you're not allowed to eat, eating is bad, your existence is bad, blah, 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 you know. I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. And then the sexual abuse, which I've had, you know, sort of all through. And I'm very aware that they said that the scarring, you know, this stuff is very indicative of sexual abuse. You know, but again, you don't seem to have any of that kind of anything as far as that goes, right? You've been secretly slashing your arms?
No,
Yeah,
I
I
one time in a drunken state decided I was going to kill myself.
Right.
And I took a little penknife out and tried to cut my wrist, and it hurt. I was like, I ain't going to do this.
Ow.
Yeah, I didn't even cut through the top two legs. I mean, it didn't even bleed. I mean, it's just like, I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this. So, no, I've never done anything like that.
Right, okay.
And what's the great part was,
sense.
I went to work that night on the psychiatric unit I was working on and showed the nurse. So, not the brightest time of my life.
Yeah, you know, but you're awful cute, baby. You're awful cute.
Here's where I go with this. Okay, so I had this kind of epiphany to me. It was very interesting, and it brought up a lot of questions, and I love questions. I love figuring things out, especially energetically and spiritually, and it makes me happy. I hate actually figuring stuff out in the end because I get bored with it real quick. But while I'm on the journey, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, so if scar tissue is different, if the trauma that created the scars is different energetically, then working with people who have scarring energetically should be different. I should start taking that into account when I'm doing energy work on people, and I never have.
That's interesting. Because then it's like,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just, I'm probably going to say in advance what you were going to say, but I'm just thinking it's like that would have to alter, you know, okay, you got this in a car wreck, so this was just a blunt physical trauma versus, oh, you know, you got this because you were enraged and couldn't stand your life. And, oh, this happened because of medical. Yeah, you would have to totally change the energy work based on the kind of trauma that individual had, I would think.
That's what I'm thinking too. to get
Yeah.
the maximum benefit out of the energy work.
Oh, that is interesting. Do you think different stones then, like, because it's like there's certain stones that you have to use for various energy centers, but I'm wondering if you
I'm
have like a.
thinking not only stones, but the oils.
Hmm.
The oils you use and the energy that you're putting out and the places. I mean, it's just one of the things I know with my journey with my scars is I've had to forgive those scars. I've had to forgive them because they've always embarrassed me,
Right.
and they made me feel alienated. Um, on one hand, I can't imagine not having them. I had them all my life since I was 2 days,
Right.
started 2 days old. But I've had to forgive, which is another way of saying accepting the fact that I am scarred, and it's not something that I'm particularly like taking my shirt off to show that tonight was very intimidating to me because I don't ever take my shirt off. I
Right.
have had
Right.
more sex with my shirt on than I care to even think about, because it's the most vulnerable thing to me.
Right.
I
Yeah, of
doubt
course.
anyone finds them nearly as disgusting visually as I do, as I perceive that they do. Maybe is a better way to put that.
Yeah, always we judge ourselves harsher than others, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then this took me to the next place of saying, okay, so we have to relieve the trauma of scars. In doing energy work, we have to somehow or another work out that trauma and get to the core of the trauma and forgive the scar. I don't know how to explain that. Did that make any sense?
Um,
Accept the scar, forgive the method that you
right.
got the scar, maybe.
Yeah. I know again with my arms. It's weird because it's like, I've had a lot of therapy and a lot of treatment. And it's weird because they used to be such a dominant part of my life. And now it's weird because I will forget for really long periods of time that I have them, and I'll look down. It's like, oh, I remember this, but it's such a different past. So is that what you mean? Is sort of like where it's like no longer a thing, or are you talking about?
Well, I'm not sure I can explain it exactly, except to say maybe I am at the verge of the key to helping people that have had traumatic injuries, like they've lost a leg, or they've been
Mm,
burned in a fire, or they've had a car accident, or they've been shot, or, I mean, whatever, being able to figure out how to work energy to relieve the PTSD that came along with the scarring. That it's another layer of healing PTSD.
yeah, you're kind of going right down the thing that I just went down because my thinking, I was wondering, it's like, okay, so if physical trauma leaving physical scars changes the energy flow, then by just thinking it out, it seems like that, of course, uh, mental or emotional trauma would leave internal scars. It's like, yeah, they don't show on the outside. But again, like you're saying, it's like, this acknowledgement of the differences in energy flow depending on what kind of trauma. Again, if it was like a sexual abuse, if it's physical abuse, if it's emotional abuse, if it's mental abuse, whatever, maybe it doesn't leave scars, but maybe it leaves internal scars that would change the energy flow, which would make sense because if you've ever been around somebody who has not really done any work and has a lot of severe emotional trauma, you can feel it. It's like it dangles off of them. You know what I mean? That energy is just like
They just
really
carry it, yeah.
spiky. And I'm wondering if that's something where the energetic field has gotten spiked out because of the internal scars. Again, they don't all run the same way or whatever. They don't
Well,
necessarily run in a convenient up and down, follow the spine thing.
one of the problems that I've encountered, one of the challenges, I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but one of the challenges I've encountered doing energy work with people that have um, post-traumatic stress disorder situation. I mean, whether it's diagnosed or not, but they have trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, whatever, is the fear of them getting so triggered while they're on the table. Because I'm not trained professional to deal with someone who is in a total PTSD meltdown. I don't have, I've been around it.
Have you gotten close to a situation like that when you were working with somebody?
Oh really? Yeah, I've experienced it, but it wasn't something I could handle. The only thing I knew to do was to try to orient them to where they really were, try to bring them back into the present reality. That's all I knew to do. But when they get like that to a certain point, they can't always hear you.
So I'm sorry, I'm backtracking you on this because I'm not sure if I know. So were you were physically, well, not physically, but energetically working on this person and they got triggered?
Oh, no, not while I was doing energy work, no.
Okay.
I've always avoided, I've been, as a matter of fact, when I do it, I make sure that they're in really good spaces before we start, and I don't take them to that traumatic place.
I can remember you doing energy work on me and a friend, Nikki, and I remember we appeared to be in very good spaces.
That's right. But I with the energy work, a lot of times I got into a meditation where they go back and they get a safe place, and then they can bring things in and people in. And I have to be very careful that they aren't in a situation that's re-triggering that memory. I have to be really super careful. I haven't had that happen yet. In real life, I shouldn't say real life, but in other parts of my life, I've been around people that were triggered, and it's horrible to watch. It's a very powerless feeling watching someone who is absolutely reliving their trauma.
I'm not sure if you've ever been around me when I've gotten triggered. I think you have. I'm not totally sure.
Not to a severe. I've seen you get freaked out and kind of shut down, but never totally lose step out of reality. I mean, I was able to have a dialogue with you and sort of talk to you and talk you down. I've never seen you, and I know you can get to the point where you're almost in a red out. You don't know what's going on until after it's over, and then you don't remember. So no, I've never seen that with you.
Okay. Yeah, there's one time I can remember where I was with Auntie, and things went real bad. And I remember that, and just the sense of non-reality, and just like, oh my God, it was bad. But I wonder though, if you worked on somebody, say, who had a car wreck and they lost a leg, I mean, do you think, because that I would imagine would have some PTSD just because of the physical damage to the body. Do you think that doing energy work on that would cause them to trigger, and would it be a problem?
That I don't know. I think that kind of PTSD may be a little bit different than someone who has PTSD from a war or from sexual abuse or something like that. Right. I think PTSD presents itself in 100 different forms.
Oh yeah.
So I've not had that experience, so I don't know. But I myself would be really careful that even with that, I would not have them relive their automobile accident, because I'm not trained to do that.
Right.
I'm very aware of what I can safely do and what I can't safely do.
Right.
There are therapists out there that have great success with that. And meditation is part of that process. But so is confronting the trauma.
Right.
And I'm not equipped, nor really do I have desire, because it's very stressful. The stuff I do is very relaxing to me. It's like,
I'm not sure I relax that night. I know my belly hurt the next day because I was laughing.
Back to that night, I got to tell you, that was really affecting my control issues because you all were not playing my reindeer game.
But it was funny though.
Later on, I looked back and thought, wow, you all were having an amazing healing. And I was
No more
disrupting
smiling.
it.
Happy hour is over.
That's right. Okay, you all, calm down, calm down. And that was early on in my journey.
Anyway,
Anyway, so yeah, I don't know what to do with all this information, and anyone out there that has answers or has more questions, anyone out there that knows stuff about scar tissue, and I suppose I could, YouTube it and see. I don't know exactly how to.
That would be too easy.
I don't know exactly how to get the answers I need. I don't know of anywhere that talks about scars energetically.
It's interesting to me, and I don't know that this at all ties in with what we're talking about, but
That's never stopped us.
that never has. But it makes me think of when I used to do the massage work and healing work on you. And I remember a lot of times I would get like colors and shapes that would come in. And I wonder if that was like the visual of the energy. 'Cause I can remember, like, even in my head now, it's like I can remember seeing like very jagged, like, broken glass type jagged shapes with red, and then surrounded like with yellow, or sometimes it would be black mixed in and stuff.
Oh.
But I can remember, like, I would be talking to you about, do you feel anything in particular here? Is this extra tight? Is this extra whatever? And then I would tell you it's like the visuals or the feeling that I would get when we were doing those, and I just wonder if that was your energy that, visually was coming through or something.
I'm assuming it was. I mean, I know that when I'm doing energy work on people, I see a lot of colors. I get a lot of sensations. I can feel.
Do you get like shapes?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Interesting.
But I do get information.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get stuff that I say. I speak it out loud just in case I'm right. And I 75% of the time I'm accurate when I'm doing energy work on people, and or maybe even more than that. But but I do absolutely get information when I'm working with people. Working on people. And one of the things is with that, I've had to learn how to shut that off in my regular job. I can't afford to be feeling everybody's stuff all the time.
Right.
I can't afford to do it. I would be a madman. Mad, I tell you.
That brings up another weird little thought for me, which is that I know you're an empath. Okay, I have no doubt about that. But I find it interesting because a lot of empaths are like, they can't turn it off. And so maybe if this is your energy field, maybe that's actually good because your energy field is actually able to actually turn off the empathy.
Well, here's what I've discovered about me in just the last year, I think, is that I am aware of other people's emotions. I can pretty much figure out what they're feeling, but I don't feel it myself.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out also to Mr. Spence. Hey, Mr. Spence, thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate
your wife
that.
I said howdy.
Yeah, me too. Hi. Hi, wife.
Make her listen. Krista, you need to be listening to this because we're giving you a shout out.
That's right. Sorry for the interruption. It was a momentary leak in my energy field. Hate it when that happens.
Hate it when you take a leak right here on camera.
Hate that. It's so embarrassing. Oh, By the way, a quick promo while we're still in the midst of things. We've been doing some vague energy stuff, and our newest thing that we're going to be doing, as well as the podcast, is we are doing tag team readings for the astrological signs. We're going to be putting one out probably before this actually comes out. So if you haven't come to the channel and looked it over, you might give it a try just to see. And I guess I had explained, by tag team readings, what I'm talking about is that I am a rune reader, runes being an ancient Nordic device. You may have heard of casting the bones or something like that. Might be me. I'm your bone caster. And Seth over there is the card reader. And we get together and we read them together. So, quick promo. Back to the energy work.
Well, I think I've kind of gotten to where I'm at with it at this point in time. These are just questions. I'm excited that this potentially is going to take my my healing skills to a different level.
It would be interesting to research the difference between the type of wounding and the type of scar tissue and the type of healing you would have to do. I really wonder what that would look like as far as differences in healing, because it's like with someone like me, where it's serious emotional trauma is the primary thing that was there. It really would have to look very, very different than somebody who's, like, say, coming back from a war. It would be a very different kind of work, and that's kind of interesting. And I would love to know.
It would be interesting to work on your arms, to see if we could open up the flow where receiving becomes more natural.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't have to, like, force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
And that the giving also becomes more natural, so it's an even flow, in and out, the balance of the two. Because really, the perfect idea, which none of us are ever going to hit, is that we have no blockages and everything flows so beautifully and so purely, and we are able to receive and give and receive and give, and and all the animals come and sing to us and do our dishes. It'd be nice.
That would be awesome, man. I'm totally into that, except my dogs already want to do my dishes, and maybe not so much. Maybe we could forgo the dishes. Maybe they could do the laundry or something instead. Fold it. One of the things that occurs to me, and I don't know if this would improve with energy work, but that I have a tendency of being like, hey, I just invented the greatest thing ever. And we talk about it, and I'm very, 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 very excited. And then it's like I can't seem to move it outwards.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And how many times have I come to you and been like, wow, I've got this great idea. And it actually maybe even is a great idea. But it's like it just gets stuck. And it goes no further. And so it would be interesting to see if energy work to unblock some of this would make the difference as far as, actually having a better finishing rate, because right now, not so big on those, unless somebody, like, grabs me by my little hand and, like, forces me, drags me into. It's like I'm an idea girl, but just crap on the finish.
And
I would give me a 3.1 on the dismount.
I believe that's pretty common with people. The great ideas and not the follow through with it. It's a very rare person that actually does a follow through. Otherwise, there would be all kinds of amazing things out there.
Yeah, I think I get overwhelmed with the follow through.
Well, even with these podcasts, had we not both been really excited about it, neither one of us would have done it.
Yeah, true. Sorry about that, Dale.
Yeah, we've had a lot of help from Dale.
Yes, we have. Dale's our hero. But yeah, it would just be interesting, though, to see if that would potentially make some sort of a difference as far as the flow of energy and the ability to follow through. Do you have problems with follow through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I'm on my own, I do by my own.
Yeah.
I'm a real deadline kind of person. I like it when someone says this needs to be done by this day at this time, and when you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
me
I do
too.
best. The ongoing thing isn't my best deal. Like I've got
Yeah.
tons and tons of writings that I've done, poetry and stories and all kinds of stuff that I have storing. I've got them in a little box down here of things that I've written. They'll never make it into a book on my own energy. I've given up even, so I'm saving it so when I die or someone steals them, they can put it together if they want to or do whatever they want to with it.
Yeah. Good enough. Well, folks, we appreciate you tuning in, especially Dale. Thank you, Dale. You're getting sleazy. Your thighs are
I'm
getting
healing you. I'm
heavy.
healing you.
Oh, that's not nearly what I was doing.
I'm getting you stoned. I'm getting you stoned.
Anyway, folks, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure as always. And please, if you're into tarot and astrology and stuff,
I got a
check
great
it,
idea.
man.
I got a great idea for you all. Subscribe to our channel. That way, when new stuff comes out, you automatically get it.
Well, that comes with putting the bell as well. That helps.
Oh, there's a bell?
There's a bell. If
I don't know how to do this, but there's some way or another that you can get contacted every time. You get an alert every time we put something out.
Yeah, and who doesn't want alert? I've always wanted alert. I actually want.
You need more alerts.
I need more. I need as many alerts as I can get. Anyway, yeah. So basically, subscribe, hit the bell, and share with your friends. Yeah.
We sure
appreciate it. Anyway, y'all have a wonderful night. Dale, we'll talk to you next week. Have a good evening.